welcome back to One Piece Re-Review, Part 38. Yep, we're on the third set of double episodes released for Dressrosa. Episodes number 655 to 667. Now, in these set episodes, we wrap up 2 plot threads and set up a big one that will basically set up stuff that happened in the very next one, which is going to be awesome. Oh, yes. So, first thing we have is where we start off with Sanji versus Doflamingo. That's where the last one left off, where they're about to fight. And they fight for a pretty good period of time until Doflamingo uses his string power to injure Sanji. Then, of course, Law comes in, switches places with, takes basically Gila, I think her name is, with Caesar on the ship, and have the Sunday basically go through the air with no clouds. The reason being because apparently the string fruit actually can attach to clouds, which I'm like, that's interesting. That could explain why he's able to look like he's flying. So yeah, that's the reason why he looks like he's flying. He attaches strings to clouds, which apparently can support his weight, which I'm like, that's interesting. Yes, it is. So, pretty much like, and then of course, Law spends a lot of the time getting the crap beat out of him by Doflamingo, who ends up, like, it's a repeat of what happened in Green Bit, where he's, like, slicing the trees. This time he's not slicing trees. He's slicing up freaking buildings. Though, this comes a little bit later. We didn't see that Kinemon is meeting up with Zoro, and basically, we have Zoro and Kinemon looking for Luffy, and of course, they try to get into the cutscene, but all the gates are locked. And just by sheer coincidence, Bartholomew just happens to be walking by, and he sees one of the guys he's a big fan of, Zoro, referred to as Mr. Zoro. Just be polite to him. He also refers to him as the vice captain. You know, that technically is not his title. Yeah, the Straw Hats don't have a vice captain. That's something interesting about them. They don't have a vice captain. Technically, you could consider Zoro to be second command of the Straw Hat crew, because he was the first person that Luffy recruited, so you could possibly see that. I mean, a lot of the only Straw Hats that give, like, a lot of, let's say, authority on the crew, aside from Luffy, is mostly Nami and Sanji. Zoro doesn't give much for orders, mostly just Luffy, Nami, and Sanji giving all the orders. Well, Sanji because he comes from royalty, though this is not real, but later. Nami because she's a navigator, and Luffy because he's the captain. So, yeah. So Barto agrees, goes look for Luffy, and he does. Though he ends up nearly passing out because he's basically just so much admiration for Luffy because he's Luffy's biggest fan. So Luffy finds Zoro to update exactly what the heck is going on. We get sort of a three-way call. Yes, a three-way call where we have Sanji's group. On the side of his group is comprised of himself, Nami, Brook, Chopper, and Momo, along with Caesar Clown. And they pretty much explain what happened. And we have the other group, which is comprised of Frankie, Usopp, and Robin, along with the Totoro tribe. And they're all preparing to simply attack. Well, they basically found the Smile Factory, but they had to free the toys first. And they also have some secrets about the toys, where it was hinted that basically they were originally human. Yeah, we finally figured out exactly who was responsible for it. It was Sugar, thanks to her hobby fruit. Oh yeah, and here's something interesting about this particular character. Despite the fact being 10 years old, she's actually in her early 20s. Yes, that thing when it comes to Sugar. Which, that could explain why no guy basically ever made a move on her, because she looks like she's freaking 10. Yeah, apparently this particular fruit actually stops aging the person who takes it. So, the only way to remove the fruit from her is to kill her. Or find some other way. Oh, and also they show her in flashback, where they actually do expansion upon the night that happened 10 years ago, where it looked like the King Riku was going on a rampage. Yeah, things started off with basically Riku in his bed, after like a normal day being king, and then we have Doflamingo. This is, I think, before he became Warlord. It's never really said exactly when in the series he became Warlord, like just randomly a Warlord, and the ruler Dressrosa. I think they mentioned that prior to that, but they never mentioned much about him being a ruler per se. So this is my kingdom. You want it back? Give me 10 billion berries. And so he has no choice but to agree to a term, despite the fact he doesn't really have that much money. So the citizens agree, and then King Riku's rampage happens. Him and his soldiers basically on rampage. And of course the whole country starts to give him the soldiers. Well, the reason why this like this is because Doflamingo is manipulating them. And Riku is basically having his body used against his own will. And it's also revealed that everyone thought that he died after the events of that particular night. But nope, that didn't happen because his second daughter, Violet, basically agreed this, made a deal with Mingo. In exchange for sparing his life, she becomes his subordinate, which he agreed to. And as for what Riku was up to during the time skip, not exactly specifically revealed. He probably was in hiding for 10 years until the whole thing with the flame fruit was. Of course, Ricky was revealed to be King Riku. It was hinted at that he was Riku, and yep, he confirms this after he loses. He is in fact King Riku III. And they also get a little backstory with the Toratora tribe, where when the Don Quixote family, when they were the rulers originally, they treated them as slaves. When King Riku I basically became ruler, he stopped that. He basically proclaimed they're no longer slaves. They could be fairies, per se. They could basically just take stuff and people would just be happy. But because King Riku, all he desired was to see people happy, not see people get wealthy. Though Doflamingo was a pretty peaceful country before Doflamingo took it over. Yeah, so they explain what SOP basically means. They basically try to take down Sugar. Now they were not gonna kill Sugar. Oh no, they were going to knock her out by scaring her. Yep. But as for what they're gonna do, that's not revealed next episodes, by the way. Yes, which that leads to something really awesome happening. Especially relates to the character of the soldier, which he says he's Rebecca's father. But I'm not going to spoil who the guy is, because even though, yes, I did kind of hint at in my original review for the season, though the season was freaking long. When I originally watched it sub, it took me 2 weeks to get this season, because I kept getting delayed, and plus also, like at the time there was a hurricane going on, so I didn't get a chance to finish watching at that point. But now I'm basically bench watching it and just revealing some stuff I had never revealed before. So basically, the plan is this: thanks to a tunnel that the Terratoras dug out underground, which Robin and Uso can fit through no problem, but not Frankie. And Frankie's like, I got a good idea. How about I go directly to the tour house above ground and create a distraction for you? And the soldier's like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. You'd be perfect for a distraction. Yep. And then we see Frankie run up to the toy house, and they're like, oh crap, it's Cyborg Frankie! And he proceeds to beat the crap out of Doflamingo soldiers and picks a fight with Senior Pink. Now, Senior Pink, prior to this, did virtually nothing. I think he made like one appearance prior to this set of episodes. Like, I think he appeared in a brief cameo in Dressrosa. In Punk Hazard, he didn't do anything. There's mention of Leo G. He doesn't do anything. I mean, he doesn't show up a little bit later. Though the stuff related to him is mostly related to Baby 5. Oh yeah, you have Dillinger. Yeah, we finally have him doing something. Where Bellamy was ordered by the flagman, Denote, to go and kill Luffy. Which he fails, which they knew he was going to do anyway. So Dillinger used that excuse to kill him, though he was able to survive thanks to Bartholomew showing up and blocking it. Yep, blocks Dillinger in his high heels. Yes, the thing with Dillinger is, people mistake Dillinger for a girl based upon his appearance. But no, it's a guy. But since when do guys wear women's high heel shoes? Yeah, this made no freaking sense. Even when when I originally watched this a few years ago, even today, this makes no freaking sense. So, pretty much, let's see. So they begin their operation to, like, well, they go in, and while he's basically taking care of Senior Pink, they also have one of the other executives, a guy who did virtually nothing prior to this big, huge, like, wrestler who works for Doflamingo. He texts Frankie too, and his plot thread is now resolved a little bit later, though they get really cool music. I love the music when it comes to Frankie fight scene in this arc. It is so fun to listen to. Like, it basically builds like some excitement because it's Frankie's music. And I love it. It's so freaking cool. I'm really hoping when they get to that particular moment, they were originally watching the sub, where Frankie using a laser to go into the factory, and then we have him open the door, and he play his awesome music. And then, of course, he makes out with the factory manager, who was a woman. That probably come a little bit later, but that's an awesome moment. But I will hopefully get a chance to gush more about that a little bit later, because how awesome it is. Though you probably think, okay, what about Violet? She was basically involved in the last couple sets. Here, she doesn't do much of anything until like the last episode. We see her briefly, just wandering about, riding on a toy horse. And then she meets up with Luffy, Zoro, and Kinemon. I'll explain that in a minute. So, in the case of Sanji's group, he basically is off in the sunny, and they go off, and then all of a sudden, like during the conversation, Law comes in, basically flying, and he nearly gets killed by, of course, Doflamingo. Meanwhile, though, on the Straw Hat ship, they're confronted by Big Mom's, like, humongous ship. Yeah, this is technically the ship's first appearance in the anime. It does return in the very not in next arc, which is Zoe Island. It actually shows up in Whole Cake, and it makes like the most recent appearance in the current arc of the series. And of course, we see the return of Baron Tamango and Peckham's. Yep, they've returned here. Though in the case of Sanji, he remembers these two. Like, oh no, it was those weird guys. And they mention, oh yeah, is Big Mom there? Nope, just Baron Tamango and Peckham's. Though initially their debut in Fishman Island was basically a setup for Whole Cake. That's simply put what it was. Yep. So, their last scene fighting the damn thing, and while of course they try to get away. And let's see of that, because here's the thing. We don't exactly know what happened next until the very next arc, because, well, Sanji, Brook, Chopper, Nami, Momo, and Caesar, and the Sunny are written out of the arc. And they're not seen again into the very next arc, though Sanji himself is not seen again in person until Whole Cake. Though we see in flashback in the very next arc, but yeah, that's the last you'll see of that group for quite a while. Not even mentioned, I think they're mentioned a couple times after this. Now, Zoe was actually first mentioned at the end of Punk Hazard. And Law told Sanji, take the Sunny to Zoe and you'll be perfectly fine. Go straight there. In case you're curious about Zoe, that's the next canon arc after this one, because there's actually an arc that leads into the second to most recent movie that comes right after this arc wraps up. So I guess they figured, okay, we have these all new characters, let's just take out half of the Straw Hat crew. Excuse me, though, that crew does play a part in Whole Cake. Plays a minor role in Zoo Island, though that was mostly for Whole Cake and Wano arc. Yeah, that's the thing about Zoe Island. It's mostly set up for the next two arcs. This arc was something that let's just say, the post-time skip had building up to since the previous arc of the series, Punk Hazard. So, yep, and of course, Robin, Usopp, and Frankie they're perfectly fine. But in the case of Law, he's taken by Doflamingo and Fujitora, which Zoro basically briefly has a fight with him. Though he's able to throw off his little gravity push, thanks to using his throwing energy ability that he uses in the course of the series. And Fujitora is like, huh, didn't know he could do that. Yep. And he's like, okay, let's go have our conversation, Heavenly Demon. Yeah, that's Doflamingo's nickname, Heavenly Demon. Though I think he should have two other nicknames, Puppet Master and Master Manipulator. Puppet Master due to the fact he is able to use strings out of his fingers, and in fact he plays like an actual, and of course because he loves manipulating people. The little attempts to answer like questions like, why in the world is Doflamingo so freaking tall? Now he's basically just a little bit taller than Fujitora. This is Fujitora wearing his wooden sandals. Yes, he does reveal apparently because King Riku was actually taken hostage by Doflamingo again. And when he talks to him, it's like, okay, he was drafted in the World War job, but he was to become an admiral. And he says one of his desires when he joined the Navy was to abolish the 7 warlords system. And Doflamingo's like, that would upset the balance. That is a terrible idea. Oh, and he mentions, oh yeah, the reverie is coming up. Yeah, that won't come into play until after Whole Cake. Yes. So this is the first time it was actually first mentioned in Fishman Island. That was the first time the reverie was actually brought up in the series. And it was actually, they mentioned it again here. And it's great though to mention it here because that's most stuff for that really. Now, the reverie arc, even in the manga, this was really short. It's only 6 chapters. In the anime, this is 12 episodes. Well, mainly due to the fact at the time it was coming out, it was the 20th anniversary in the anime, so they had to extend it as long as they could, though it was told really well. So, in the case of Luffy, well, he needs to go save Law, but he can't take the Coliseum. Luckily enough, a man wearing a blue suit shows up, with a hat with goggles on it, and he's got a scar across his eye, and he carries a lead pipe. Who is this man? It's Luffy's long lost brother Sabo, a guy who Luffy thought died. Yes. Okay, I'll be out in a few minutes. Okay. Looks like I have to stop right here because supper is ready. So expect to see part 38B soon. Okay, to the next video. Bye.